Okay. My wife and I and our kids first came here in 1996.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, what year are you born?
90. I was 6 years old. I was a little one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we came here then, and we.
I bet it was very different.
It is amazing how much has changed. It's amazing. None of this fencing was here, for example. This was a field, and all this had not been excavated yet. This was just land.
Okay.
Across the street is where they were excavating at that moment. But you can see by looking here, this at one time was a palace. You can tell, at least it was buildings, but it was a palace.
It's pretty sunken down.
Well, now remember, everything looks like it's buried because over time, windstorms and just, you know, the fill from trash and everything else, it builds up, and then the ground appears to rise about any structure. And so, yes, it was completely covered up at one time. And so today it's been excavated. It was mostly work in the 90s by a bunch of American universities primarily. We have Abilene Christian, Hardin-Simmons, a number of Texas schools and other schools came here and they worked here. And there's a group from Pepperdine in California here when we came. John Wilson was here and was the one who gave us a tour of this area. I was planning on doing some digging here, but it was hot and we just let him discuss everything they had found. And he shared that they had just confirmed that this was the palace of Herod Agrippa II.
Herod Agrippa II.
Yeah, now you've heard of Herod Agrippa before. Go ahead and ask the question.
Well, I was going to ask, you know, we've discussed Herod
Yeah.
here in the past few days, but this is a different Herod Agrippa.
Yes, sometimes you read in the Bible Herod and you don't know which Herod this is. Herod the Great was that first Herod, okay? He was the one who did so much building, built the temple in Jerusalem. And then when he died, he had 3 sons who took over.
Oh, okay.
Archelaus was down there in Jerusalem. They took him out of power and they put in Roman governors because he was a terrible ruler. But Herod Antipas was given this part of the country. He was given Galilee, basically. Well, Antipas did fine as a ruler, but there was another son named Agrippa. And Agrippa, you talk about a person whose life was a soap opera. I mean,
Is
yes.
this also Herod the Great's son, or is this Herod's the Great's grandson? Is this one?
This one is a son.
Okay.
No, grandson. Agrippa's the grandson.
So Agrippa's the grandson of Herod.
He's the grandson.
Herod the Great.
I have to think about,
you
you asked a
Herod
good
the
question.
Great,
Okay.
And then there's Herod and Antipas. So
Yeah.
then this is his son. Right?
There are 30 Herods.
I know.
And
so many.
I have it in my head. Sometimes it's not in my head now. So
Okay.
I don't know. So you're going to have
I'm
to
just
edit
wondering
this tape.
which one.
No, this is going to make you.
Yeah, this is going to be she stumps the teacher.
Tune in next week when we have the answer.
Yeah, right.
Which Herod
okay.
is this? Okay.
Okay, so let's go back to it. Okay, let's just start with, you asked, just ask your question. Ask again. Okay, who is Herod?
Yeah, so who is this Herod? Because we have Herod the Great.
We have
and then
Herod the
he
Great.
had-
Yeah, Herod the Great is the one who built the temple in Jerusalem, did the Caesarea, did so much. It's really all over the Roman world. It's not even just in Israel. He built in Greece, he built in Rome, he built all over the place. The book is Dwayne Roller, The Building Program of Herod the Great. Wow. Great book. So anyway, this is not Herod's son even. Herod's son was Antipas, who received this land.
Okay.
But we're going to talk about not even his grandson, Herod the Agrippa the First. Now, Herod Agrippa the First had a soap opera life. I mean, Herod's life was a soap opera, but Herod Agrippa the First was just beyond belief. But this is his son, Herod Agrippa the Second,
Wow.
whose sister was Bernice. So when they went to Caesarea, where Festus was the Roman governor,
Okay.
he said, listen, I've got Paul here imprisoned. Do you want to hear him? And they said, yeah, I would love to. And so they brought Paul in, and that's what happened down there. We're reading about in Acts 25. So that Herod Agrippa
The
II,
Okay.
built a palace here. His father was the one, Agrippa I, who became the friend of Caligula. Caligula in Rome became the Roman emperor. Wasn't there for long, he was assassinated, but because he was a good friend of his Caligula, he actually was able to receive control of all of Israel. He owned more property.
It's good to have connections.
That's it. He had more property than Herod the Great, actually.
Oh,
And so it's not a name most people know, but he really came to great power, even though at one point he was in prison. And at one point he was fleeing because he had such debts and he couldn't pay his debts. His life was a soap opera. But his son, his son, Herod Agrippa II, is the one who built here.
Oh, okay.
And so this palace goes from here and maybe into the parking lot.
Okay.
I don't know where the extent of it.
This is his palace.
This is his palace, and it goes way over there. We can see it by looking over that way over the fence. And so his palace, it's just massive how much they would build. It's a large palace. And in fact, it goes underneath the road that we'll travel on to get up to Nimrod's fortress. Nimrod's fortress is right up this hill because we're at the foothills of Mount Hermon. Mount Hermon, of course, is the source for water in Israel. Most of the water for Israel is coming
from here?
Coming from here. The snow melts, it goes into the mountain, it bubbles up at 3 places, primarily at Dan. And we'll go to Dan as well.
Nice.
So,
I'm excited.
okay.